very much, Mr. Chairman. And, actually, is it okay?
No, he's
All right.
passing.
All
the
right.
next time,
Oh, my
so you're
God.
going next.
Well, he usually refutes me after I get said. No, well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. This is, you know, we have perplexing issues here in Washington, D.C., and this is one of the perplexing issues because we know that one of our great assets is this new and thriving and futuristic space transportation systems that we have now being developed in the private sector. And at the same time, we have made a lot of investments when they were needed during the Cold War, et cetera, in rocket and missile technologies that are there waiting, and what to do with them in a way that would not undermine these people not changing the rules in the middle of the game for those people who now have invested in this new industry. So let me suggest that it is not an unsolvable formula that we're looking for. We know it is pretty well understood that the government does have a right to have launches on these ICBMs for government purposes, for a government mission. Is that correct? I mean, we're not saying the private sector isn't saying no, they've got to go with the private companies even though the government has the capability of doing it itself. Is that correct? That's pretty well understood. Okay. Well, then the problem then, let me just suggest that the government, maybe we're are not looking close enough to see that there are things that the government needs to do in space that will help alleviate this problem. For example, if you have a certain number of space vehicles that are there, like ICBMs, and waiting, well, we didn't build them because we wanted them to drop nuclear weapons on the Soviet Union. That's not why we built those. We built those just in case there was a war, but we didn't want that to happen. Well, there are lots of things we need to do in space that would also mean that we have to have this capability. How about cleaning space debris? How about making sure that we have a new commitment to making sure, and that would be a federal commitment, and that these rockets would be used for things like that? Or how about global protection against meteorites or asteroids that might come and destroy the planet if we don't have the capability of dealing with that? Those are, we have things we can do that the federal government has to do and has to be part of. If we don't clean up the space debris, we're not going to be able to do this business in space. It will undermine the private sector anyway. So we need to do that. It needs to be done by the federal government. It needs to be a federal program. And so maybe we can dedicate these ICBMs to missions like that. And rather than trying to undermine our people in the private sector who've invested huge amounts of money in order to build this capability without thinking the federal government was going to change the rules of the game and undermine their efforts to operate in the market. So anyway, that's just a thought. The bottom line is we need innovative technologies, but I think what we need, Mr. Chairman, is not just innovative technologies, but we need innovative policies and perhaps expanding the role and getting the job done that we need to get done in space and focusing on that may help us overcome this perplexing issue that we're discussing today. And you've got about a half a minute to say yes or no.
Space debris is a huge issue, and I never thought I would see a time when the commercial industry would be anxious to try and find ways to regulate itself because of the environment up there. We're starting to talk about space traffic management, which has been an off-subject thing in recent years. So, absolutely, space debris is a huge issue, and anything we can do to tackle it is something we need to do.
Even with those, even when the old ICBMs might play a role.
If they can play a role, let them play a role.
I would say no on the ICBMs because
China had a satellite that they justified that there was a dead satellite and they wanted to take it out of that orbit, and they used an ICBM as an ASAT weapon. And as we were tracking, the U.S. tracks over 20,000 pieces of debris because of this China ASAT that took place. By shooting a piece of debris, it caused about 5,000 pieces of debris. So that would not be the best way, I would say, to use this, but I think to focus the Air Force's technology on space traffic management, and if there's a way to use these vehicles in that regard, I'd be for it.
I think the suggestion wasn't that the ICBM
Right.
target
Not,
a
not
piece
your,
of debris.
Yeah, you weren't proposing to blow
Not
these
one
things
for
up
one.
and-
Not one for one.
Yeah,
No.
but we might have some big machine that we put up there.
That's
that
right.
could actually,
If we could do that, I'd be all for that.
Okay. Thanks very much, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Thank you. Good line of